Alright, going to do a little bit of a primer here / deck tech on my favourite version of, well, I don't want to say my favourite, I have many favourite versions for the EDH, but this is one of the ones I've enjoyed playing the most. This is Niv Does the Splits, or Niv to the Splits. So this is Split Card Tribal, and basically this is the two-sided cards from Ravnica and earlier. This is the fusion cards, this is the aftermath cards, and yeah, it's all these abilities. Now, before we go into that, we'll say this is obviously, we're doing the tech because I played a really long game and my recording failed and the replay ability on MTGO didn't work, so I'm just going to talk through the deck. The key thing of this deck is the split cards are basically 1-for-1s with a lot of flexibility, and some of them are very overcosted, as you'll see as we go through. However, the key thing here is literally the power of the reload. If we cast Niv Mizzet after we've used a few key pieces, we can basically reload our hand, get answers. And if you want to play a deck like this, you've got to play it really political. What I mean by that is, you can't go out of the gate swinging at every opponent. Basically, you can't like target this player, target this player, target that player, and have the whole table come at you, because this deck does not have the facility to stay alive in that. What you got to do is wait for an opponent to slightly pull ahead or put pressure on another player, and go, okay, well, I'm gonna destroy your Soul Ring, or I'm gonna destroy your Sylvan Library. You've basically got to play Jenga. You've got to remove pieces from the tower without bringing the whole tower down. But we'll go through that in more detail as we keep going. So as this is a 5-color deck, as we say before, Niv Mizzet, when he enters the Wooburg to cast 6/6 flying dragon avatar, when he enters the battlefield, look at the top cards of the library, and for each color pair, choose a card that exactly those colors and put it into your hand, put the rest at the bottom. Key thing with split cards, even though we might only cast one side of them, for example the aftermath cards, they are essentially the two colors combined. Even though the spells are separate, the card identity is those two colors, so they work with Niv. Now we've got the key thing here is, I run, and I'll show later in a different video, particularly with my paper Niv deck collection, you play the same 40 lands in every version and the same ramp cards. We'll go through them in a sec. And then basically I have a box with my lands and ramp in, and then I have a box with every other Niv deck in. I pick and choose what I want to play, shuffle them together. The same on here. So we have 40 lands that we won't go into. It's basically a 5-color mana base, however you want to build it. And then we have 10 ramp spells, as we see here. Now these focus purely on getting lands into play, because we do run World Tree, Field of the Dead. Now you don't have to run as much of this, but it's also fair to know that this is a very interactive deck that just takes on a lot of enchantments and artifacts. So if you run artifact ramp, don't expect it to stick around if you're running a deck like this. So going in order of thing, we have Farseek, good fixing because it doesn't require us to grab basic. Nature's Law grabs another forest, so any kind of dual forest we can get up there. Rampant Growth, Sakura Tribe Elder, because it's basically another Rampant Growth. Free Visits, another forest, another fixing there. Rolling Regrowth. This is basically, I like this one because it's instant speed, same with Harrow, and it doesn't require you to, unlike Harrow, this doesn't require you to sack as part of the cost, so you don't get blown out by a counterspell. But yeah, very good ramp for basic lands. Cultivate, anyone who's played Commander or Green knows what this does. I love this art, I don't know where the trader gave me that one. Harrow, same again, ramp. Kadama's Reach, slightly slower than, well, same speed as Harrow really, but get you to your basics. And finally, Hour of Promise. Some people asked about this. So I run the Hour of Promise because if you have 5 mana in this deck, since we have no other ramp sources, and you cast Hour of Promise, you grab World Tree and Field of the Dead, and this sorts you out 2 zombies because they see each other enter and trigger the 7 different lands, and the World Tree will be triggered as well because you'll have 6 or more lands. So it's fixing and a great threat. Plus, the reason I love grabbing both of these together is because if someone has a selective answer, for example, a Field of Ruin effect or a Ghost Quarter, they will 100% go for your Field of the Dead before they even touch a World Tree. So it's like kind of pseudo protection. So anyway, let's start going through some of these split spells. So here we have some of the traditional. We have Wax and Wane, destroy an enchantment, give 2/2. Wear and Tear, this is one of the fuse cards where we can cast both of them together. This is a really strong underplayed card in Commander. I think more people need to play this. We have Life and Death. Now this is a one where we will never really cast Life and turn our lands into creatures, but we will use Death sometimes to reanimate Niv if he's become too expensive. Moving along, we have Stand and Deliver. Basically this is more of a bounce spell. I don't think you ever use the stand side. Night and Day. This can be weird since they're both instants, so you can take out a little mana dork thing, like for example a Esper Sentinel, but you can also use the day side of it to pump your team or another team. Incubation to Impurity. Basically this is kind of like a Beast Within, so, well, it's a, not Beast Within, a pre-mana Pongify, is it the one I'm thinking of? A very good answer. We never use it in the first half. Illusion to Reality, artifact removal. Illusion can be useful. I have in the past used this in paper to turn a Eldrazi Titan into a colored creature so that it gets hit with its own all this dust. Very fun. Fire and Ice, just utility cards, filling it out. Collision, Colossus. Right, so this is what you'll see going through this deck. We've seen it a bit with Wax as well. There's a lot of pump in these spells, incidentally. So you can actually kind of win with commander damage with Niv, and we'll cover this out more later. Turn and Burn. This is such a good card for just dealing with something. For example, if someone blocks with something indestructible, you can turn and burn to do, a little bit of damage. Even if you can't pay the 5 mana, just turning something that's attacking or blocking into a 0/1 with no abilities can be great. For example, if you politically, if someone is in the lead and swinging with like a Gnawbone to try and get a ton of treasures, you can turn it into a 0/1 and have someone block it and take it out. It's underplayed and very undervalued. Struggle to Survive. This is a card that goes in all of the Niv decks that I play because of it being basically removal and graveyard reloading. Status statue, a little bit of pump, a little bit of removal. Right, Repundicate and Recomplicate. Basically this is a really good card. So this is a 3 mana reload if we have Niv on the field, but it can also be a 2 mana complete hose of something. One, like countering an ability, you have no idea how often that could come up. Just think about it next time you see someone use it in a commander game. Protect and Serve. This is another pump spell basically. Profit and Loss is a pseudo little board wipe thing, pretty cute. Integrity, pump spell, and a 4 mana lightning helix. Far and Away, this is a card I think that's undervalued as well. Basically it's Bounce and Edict, and so there's some synergies here. So if you have all 5 mana, you can bounce an opponent's creature to force them to sack the other creature that you desperately don't want to be on the field. You can bounce your own creature and then force an Edict on someone else to... It's very versatile, and I think it's something that should be looked at. Carnival to Carnage. This is a real filler card, not too great. Assault and Battery, same again. There are some just filler cards here that you can probably mess around with. Toil and Trouble. This is actually what won me the game I just played. So, an opponent on 10 life, and they had, I believe, 7 cards in hand. So I fused this together and forced them to draw and kill them. But I've also used this to kill a combo player who's gone off with like a a Locust God and drawn like 40 cards, and you're just like, Trouble, take 40 damage. It's a very fun spell. Thrash and Fret. This is basically a fight spell that we can use Niv, so we can turn Niv into removal. Road to Ruin is the newest split card from Modern Horizons 2. Very good spell, and one I would consider for budget. So basically this is a ramp spell. This is a free mana rampant growth that can incidentally in your graveyard be a free mana removal spell. So very versatile, very fun. Reduce to Rubble. Basically a free mana leak and then a very cool ability to stop them untapping. This can you'd be surprised how relevant this can be sometimes. Just for example, stopping someone tapping a color. And one thing we know from playing Commander, and I think a lot of people agree with this, is unless it's very late game, a lot of people are like, okay, it's turn X, so I'm going to cast my X cost spell now with no mana to back it up. So it often ends up bad, as we say. Onward to Victory. This is the one-shot Niv Mizzet card. So for those of you who don't know, if you throw this onto Niv Mizzet, if you cast Niv and next turn make a land drop and you've hit this card, if they don't have a flying blocker or a way to answer Niv, you can kill them, because it basically turns Niv 6 mana, turn Niv Mizzet into a 12/6 double striking commander. Instant death with commander damage. Give and Take. This is basically a pump spell that you can just use 3 mana to put some counters on Niv. Farm. Take out an attacking and blocking creature. This is where I say a lot of this shows up with a lot of these effects. You notice we have select bounce a permanent, destroy select thing. We don't have a lot of hose the whole board. That's because we don't want to get the table angry at us. So you've got to remember to play fair. Like, oh, you're attacking me, well, I'm going to destroy this. Don't attack me in the future. Or, oh, well, I'm going to save you from lethal commander damage, you owe me a favour. Things to consider there. Depose to Deploy. A little bit of life gain, token creation. Nothing too major. Concern and Consumes. This is a 4 mana edict that forces them to sack their biggest creature. This is so relevant because the amount of time someone will also just have a little mana dork or a little sack thing that they could just get rid of instead for your edict, but this actually forces the hand. And incidentally, 2 mana cantrip that also removes a card from a graveyard is surprisingly relevant in the meta of Commander. Armed and Dangerous. So this is turns Niv into a 7/7 double strike. It is another. You can see how we're lining up here. So, a couple of spells together, or the one-shot spell to take Niv down, and a lot of spells incidentally would just pick apart. That's how we win. If we come down to 1-on-1, you have to go, okay, bounce the flying blocker, pump Niv, double strike Niv, take you out. Like, this is basically commander damage.deck if you're going to win. Warrant, another way to deal with an attacking creature. Response Resurgence, double combat phase, very solid. Refuse to Cooperate. So Refuse is a nice thing if you see someone use like a big X spell, like if someone puts 30 mana into a Torment of Hellfire or a Exsanguinate. Not Exsanguinate. Is it Exsanguinate? I can't remember now. You can deal with that, but primarily the 3 mana Cooperate's the best because it's 3 mana instant speed, copy any spell. Not your spell, that's the key thing about this card. This can copy any spell, and you may choose new targets. So it is a hoser to have in your graveyard. Order and Chaos. Basically, more answers for attacks. Never Return. This was a filler card at the moment. I need to take this out. Invent. So this is 6 mana tutor, and cool thing about this, since it says you may tutor for an instant or sorcery card, there are some split cards that we've seen that one side is an instant, one side is a sorcery, so you can kind of cheese it and get 2 of whatever you need. Down and Dirty. Target player discards 2 cards, or 3 mana. It's basically an Eternal Witness sorcery, so it's very fun to use. Discovery Dispersal. Discovery is some nice fixing, and well, if you played Standard, you know. Dispersal can also be very backbreaking if they've tapped out to cast something huge. Also, if they've cast something off treasures or something that you know they can't immediately recast. It's a very good card to have in the thing. Consign, another instant speed non-land permanent bounce spell. Counter spell / removal spell here. Revival Revenge, one of my favourite cards in the deck. So basically this is, I like casting it for revenge, and it's a card that I really think more people need to play, because doubling your life and halving someone else's life total can be backbreaking. I've had a lot of games where someone is very, very clearly ahead, and I've used revenge to go up to, I think, 70 to 80 life, cut their life in half. Suddenly they have to play on defensive because of the board state, and most people who are new to the deck will go, oh, it's okay, he's just got split cards, he's got overcosted non-interactive cards, so interactive cards, so it shouldn't be too bad. Oh, how they learn quickly. Finality and Find. This is our mini little board wipe. -4/-4. It's basically a Languish. Bedeck is another removal spell. Bedazzle is land destruction. Assure is protection for our creatures / assemble. If we need to use it, can generate us some creatures. Spring is another ramp spell, and Mind is just draw spell. Overcosted again. Conceive, Connive. So again, this one's very fun to do. So if Niv's been killed a couple of times, you can send him to the graveyard and use Connive to bring him back to the battlefield. Or, not Connive, Concoct. Or you can use Connive to steal something with 2 power or less. Now you might think, oh, that's not too good. Well, let's think, what's the 2 power? Esper Sentinels. They're Manadorks. A lot of very efficient commanders. For example, Tulane, I've used this before on, turns out it's 2 power. You know, so it's more relevant than you would think. Right, to our X spells, which I believe is the last column here. Oh no, we have one bigger than X. Heaven and Earth is our X damage board wipe. First side does it to flying, second side Aftermath does it to creatures on the ground. And then we have Expansion Explosion. Copying one of our spells is very good. Explosion, we very rarely cast it in this deck, but it's always fun to use. Cut to Ribbons, again, it's a good early pick off something important, and then Ribbons late game, burn them out. Rags is a mini Languish, not too great. Riches is 7 mana, everyone gives us a creature that they control. You can set it up where that can be backbreaking. But yes, this is the Niv split card deck. It is honestly one of the more fun decks I really enjoy playing, because it feels so different than just I'm ramping out big stuff, gonna try and go off. It's very much like, okay, player A has 3 mana rocks and is about to ramp out a 7-drop commander. Player 2 has 1 mana rock and is not doing anything, and player 3 is got a couple of things down, more creatures than me. Alright, I'm going to slow A down and let the others get back into it, because one thing with a lot of commander players is they won't perceive you as a threat if you play it right, because they'll look at the opponent that ran ahead and be like, he's close to something big, he slowed him down, we've got to deal with him. Yeah, a long deck tech, but it is a hard to explain deck, but I'll put the list in the description. Please feel free to try it. It's relatively budget apart from the mana base, and it can be a really fun experience. Hope you enjoy.